Greetings. This is General CJG here, and today we are back with another State of Star Wars podcast. And this time we're going to be doing a Disney Star Wars comic. And joining me here are.
Jedi Master Daniel 96, Red 5, standing by.
And.
Wedge Antilles, standing by.
Awesome. So, this comic we're talking about is Shattered Empires. It was one of the first sources of Journey to the Force Awakens back in 2015, if I recall. And,
yes.
And we're gonna talk about it. So, without further ado, let's go with, I guess, our first experiences with the comic. If any of you have any before nowadays, so.
For me, I read it when it came out. I got the first two issues in 2015, around the time fall 2015 when it came out, and then maybe a year or a year and a half later, I got the trade paperback. And then last year, I read it and then reviewed it on my YouTube channel, Jedi Master Daniel 96.
Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, Wedge, you got something?
Well, personally, I just bought issue 1 when it came out, and then afterwards, I just waited for the trade paperback because that's what I've been doing a lot more recently with comics, is just buying the trade paperback.
Okay, nice. In my case, I never owned the comic physically. Then again, I wasn't really into this Star Wars back in 2015. So I read the comic much later. I think it was 2018, I recall, or 2017. I read it. I liked it, but I did have a few issues with it that I still have to this day, along with a new one, which you'll see which ones I'm talking about. But so far, the comic it's a pretty decent comic. It's actually good. It's not bad. So. And why is it good when supposedly the narrative is that most of Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy era is bad? Well, let's get into why this comic is actually pretty good. So, let's go with the first issue, shall we?
All right. Well, the first issue is more it's pretty much, set right after Return of the Jedi. You're pretty much, introduced to Shara Bay, who eventually is Poe Dameron's mother, as we learn in the later issues. And, you get to see pretty much the celebration on Endor. You pretty much see, Shara Bay fighting in the space battle over Endor. Then you have a panel of Luke and Vader fighting. And then you kind of pretty much go to almost a day after and hours after, Return of the Jedi ends. So pretty much more in the hours and days after the Battle of Endor, and it's pretty much, builds the bridge for Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens 30-year gap.
Yeah. Wedge, got anything to say about issue 1?
Honestly, I really liked it overall. We got to see sort of the aftermath of the Rebel attack on the second Death Star, where basically the Rebel Alliance went full-on attack mode to various Imperial worlds, and that the Empire was really falling apart at this point. And just the characters look good. The ship, the drawings, everything looks great. I'm not sure if it suffers from that whole stolen artwork thing that Eckhart Slatter has been talking about, but
the Star Wars stolen?
Where the art, because I've read some of the new canon comics, and there's some, I think, in the main Star Wars line. I think one of the main one of the Star Wars comics I read was in the new canon. I think it was there was one the crate one, and it looked photoshopped. And this would, as you said, Wedge, it doesn't look photoshopped, this art.
I was specifically referencing what they did with Rise of Resistance, where they they literally took fan art and then just traced over it without crediting it. So I was wondering if that happened here when rereading it, but
Well,
Like I
the
don't know every single piece,
the
so
penciler and inker is called Marco Cecchetto. I don't know if you guys know him. So
That doesn't sound
it says
familiar.
he has drawn he pretty much did all of the Shattered Empire comics in terms of art style. Obi-Wan and Anakin, all of it. 1 to 5, Screaming Serial Part 1, and he did all of Captain Phasma's artwork from 1 to 4. So that's what Marco Cecchetto has done so far in terms of ink work and drawing. And so, what do you guys think of the art style?
I love
Yeah,
it personally.
yeah, I think it's some solid artwork. I think it's probably, I would say one of the best from the new canon comics of the, you know, Disney, Marvel, Star Wars era of Star Wars comics.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it is one of the best, one of the better looking comics of Disney Star Wars. So, which is awesome. And it makes you wonder, why didn't they hire this artist to make the artwork for Allegiance? He made the cover arts of Allegiance 1, 2, 3, and 4, but not the art. The art on Allegiance was terrible, by the way. It was awful.
Yeah, like I feel like the comic in that one, like even the cover, I'd say looks better. But yeah, pretty much the Allegiance comic was a bit forgettable.
It has some of the worst art.
Yeah,
So I'm shocked that they didn't recruit this guy, because this guy's art is pretty damn good. I mean, I'm showing here some of the art of the first issue, and it just looks really good. Like, it really
yeah, I would
does.
agree. Oh, yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, like about that, because as compared, like as I said, I feel like there's some in like as I said, in the main Star Wars line, and I read like the Storms of Crate comic, which was kind of like the Last Jedi tie-in, and there were bits it almost looked like it was photoshopped.
Like, it didn't look as good as this.
Yeah, like this is probably one of the most beautiful comics out there.
Yeah, I agree. I strongly agree. So, you got something to say about the issue 1, or nothing else?
That's pretty much it for me.
Which something else on issue 1?
Just pretty much, it's solid. Like it looks good, and it really like sets up the story, and it got me excited to continue.
Okay, well, in that case, we go to issue 2. Daniel, want to do the honors to the summary?
Um, Issue 2 is like, a continuation of issue 1, and a fun fact in issue 2 is where we see Palpatine's Sentinel, as we see in the Battlefront 2 campaign, which is in that bit. As you play the Battlefront 2 campaign, that's where it makes its first appearance, the
Yeah.
Palpatine Sentinel. And then, I mean, that's probably how we thought, they would use a Palpatine in the post-Return of the Jedi era of the new canon, but come the Rise of Skywalker, he's a clone.
We'll get into episode 9. I got something to say about that regarding this comics. We'll get into that. So, anyway, so yeah, the Emperor Sentinel from Battlefront 2 EA, it makes his appearance here, and this is actually the first time where we see Operation Cinder ever being mentioned or brought up, if I recall, like the first time in Disney Star Wars.
Yeah, because like Battlefront 2, the EA version came out in 2017, around when The Last Jedi was coming out. That's where this comic, was 2 years prior.
Yes.
On the heels of The Force Awakens coming out.
Yes, exactly. So then the admiral gets he gets the plan. They're going to do Operation Cinder and Naboo, and then we see a battle going on in Kawa City on Sturdic 4. Some sort of battle going on between the rebels and the Empire, which is interesting. We see Shara piloting the A-wing against TIE fighters, blowing some of them up, and she seemed to have been shot in the back, and she did survive. So So yeah, then there's the debriefing of what's going on, and then in this issue, she's going to talk to Leia because apparently she was requested to be Leia's pilot on her mission to Naboo. Surprisingly.
Oh yeah, that's like I'd say that was a pretty interesting one of seeing Naboo, post Return of the Jedi after all these years, because on screen, as we see Naboo in Episode 3 when at Padme's funeral, it's then we go to Naboo in the timeline, like after the events of Return of the Jedi, which was pretty interesting.
So issue 2, we have Leia talking with the Queen and regarding the fact that Palpatine came from Naboo and how basically the Empire is crumbling and all the political stuff.
True, and then because even the new canon kept Naboo as Palpatine's home planet.
Yeah,
Because where I first heard where Palpatine was from Naboo was the original 2005 Battlefront game, and then they even confirm it in Darth Plagueis and all that. So the new canon, sticks to Palpatine being from Naboo.
Well, actually, it was the Phantom Menace that said he was from Naboo. Yeah, because if you're a senator of Naboo, you're gonna have to be from Naboo.
Oh yeah, true. Because that's probably it. Because because pretty much with the new creating the new canon, they took the higher levels, the higher tiers, the first 6 in the 2008 Clone Wars. So they had to go with that.
So yeah, and the meeting between the Queen and Leia got interrupted because Operation Cinder was executed, and there's a giant storm in Naboo, and that's where the issue 2 ends. So, guys, thoughts on issue 2?
Thought it was a solid one.
Wedge, got anything to say?
I really liked it. I was getting really excited to see Operation Cinder get into action. Seeing a new queen for Naboo and even just revisiting the planet after basically so many years was just really refreshing. And yeah, just overall, it was another just solid read.
Nice.
Even the beginning fight was just was really cool.
My thoughts on issue 2. I thought it was a great issue. Once again, the art again is just great. So the Emperor's Sentinel and seeing Operation Cinder in action for the first time is definitely it's great. Also seeing Naboo, as Daniel said, after a long while. Yeah, it was something, because as far as I know, in the expanded universe, we haven't really explored Naboo post Return of the Jedi, I believe. I know it was heavily mentioned, but not explored.
Yeah, I don't think we did in the EU. I don't know anything in the EU, post prequel trilogy that explains, anything in the original trilogy era or between 3 and 4 that revisits Naboo, other than that level in the 2005 Battlefront game.
Yeah, indeed. There is plenty of mentions of Naboo in post-Return of the Jedi EU. That much I do know, but actual appearances of Naboo, no, not so much.
Yeah, they kind of just went their own way in the EU. But as you said, I felt, as you guys said, and probably what I said, it felt nice to go back to it after all these years, and I felt like it was nice to see a prequel planet in this era of the timeline.
Yeah, indeed. So, okay, now we go to issue 3. So, there's 2 battles: an outpost in the Outer Rim, with Han Solo raiding it with Charles' husband, and of course there is Naboo getting wrecked by the Operation Cinderstorm, and so something has to be done, and apparently Shara and Leia have the idea of taking ships and pilots and the N1 starfighters, and that's where Leia gets the vision because of the hangar. So there was that. Cool small reference. And then this is one that I kind of laugh at. Leia and Shara are ready to go using the M1 starfighters, and the Queen of Naboo just says that I make it 3. I'm also gonna go fly with you. I was also combat certified the year before I was elected. So the 3 women are gonna go and just fly up there and destroy the operations in their satellites. That was a bit funny. That the Queen of Naboo is like, oh yeah, I know how to fly the starfighters and shoot stuff in space. So yeah, I'm going with you. kind of
Yeah.
that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. It's kind of interesting that she's wearing a similar belt to when Padme was. If you remember in Episode 2, Attack the Clones, she was wearing the Naboo pilot suit. She had like a gold belt to signify that she was like the senator of Naboo. And here the Queen is using something similar.
I did not notice that.
No. Yeah. It was kind of, I would say it was, as you said, a pretty nice callback to it. And then this time, it's Anakin's daughter, Leia, taking on the N1 starfighter, as where her father years ago blew up the droid control ship.
And now she's gonna blow up the operations in their satellites. Bit less cool, but hey, at least she's doing it. So there's that.
Like father, like daughter.
In some ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, though to be fair, the son also did it in Episode 4, but with
Yeah,
the
but he
Death
blew up
Star.
the Death Star, but that was above a different planet over Yavin.
Yeah, indeed. So anyway, so yeah, they go and destroy the satellites. They're putting up a great fight. Then Lando decides to arrive at the almost last minute. What's up with Lando arriving at the last minute in both cannons? So there's that. I guess that's Lando for you. It just like I said, why show up early when you can arrive the nick of time, right, princess? Lando. So yeah, then they reunite in the Rebel cruiser, and that's where the issue ends. So yeah, and by reunite I mean Shara and her husband, they reunited. And
then
that's the end of issue 3. So
and then also Poe's, and then as with Shara's husband, it's Poe Dameron's dad, which is Kes Dameron.
Yes, definitely, indeed. So what do you guys think of this?
Thought it was a good one.
Same here. It was a great issue. I genuinely love this like space fight with the Naboo starfighters. Like overall, it was so cool to have the three of them. Basically, as you had mentioned earlier, you have Anakin's daughter, you've got the mother of Poe Dameron, and then you've got like the Queen. Two of them are like related to basically some of the greatest pilots in the galaxy, and they're there now, like representing basically the next generation and a future generation, which is something I found really cool. And the Queen being a pilot too was like, it made her kind of interesting, where she wasn't just like a political figure that was just like in politics. She like probably had a life beforehand. Maybe she was in like the Bravo flight.
She must have
alongside Rick Ollier and all that.
Well, Ollier right now, I don't think he lives. He's probably very old.
Yeah, he's probably retired.
Yeah.
But, like, just to think like they were probably flying together at some point is like, it just makes me think a lot more about her character and what she could have done, which is something that I really appreciate when a story does, where it makes me like try to draw conclusions. And then overall, Lando showing up at the last minute because, everyone's got to make a great entrance, especially Lando.
Lando.
Yeah.
And yeah, then they return to the Rebel hangar. Bashar Bay and the Kes Dameron are reunited. Han and Leia are reunited. So it's like overall, it's just like a cute ending for issue 3.
Yeah, indeed. So my thoughts on issue 3, I thought it was great. I think that it definitely wrapped up the Operation Cinder storyline here well. And it basically was a great issue, great way to have that battle to end the storyline, and also give us some some battles with the N1 starfighters from Naboo. I mean, that's pretty awesome, man. So it was awesome, and the art style again still just as gorgeous. So it's amazing. And so now we get to the final issue of Shattered Empire, my least favorite. So, Daniel, you want to give a rough summary of it?
This is the one, where Shara Bay and Luke Skywalker go looking for the Force tree.
Yeah. So basically, Sharabe, she's signed in just she's allowed to basically go and raise her husband back in their home world because they don't have to deal with more Empire for a while. But then Arturito just finds her and just like Luke Skywalker's like, I need a pilot and I need a pilot to shuttle the Lambda shuttle and also to get inside the facility and take the trees and just go and they get the trees and it went flawless and that's how it went. I not too fond of this last issue, to be honest. Mostly because it feels like an excuse to pad out the comic. Because seriously, issue 3, it ended there. Like seriously, you can just skip issue 4. You don't have to worry about this one because this one it has nothing to do with Operation Cinder, with the exception of just having Sharo in it. Like you can just skip it if you want. I really think this is just padding to or filler to have Luke Skywalker in it because every other original trilogy character was there, from Han Solo, Chewbacca, Lando, 3PO. So they had to put Luke Skywalker and R2D2. So it was padding.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of this one.
Yeah, probably they did it, just to make more money,
That too, and art style is still pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that art style is still pretty good, and we do get to see some fun stuff. So it's a fun issue. It's just it's not necessary. Like it really isn't.
As you said, I feel like because anything I'd say with the original trilogy characters is an instant sell.
Yeah, and Luke Skywalker is pretty damn popular, so yeah, we're gonna need that Luke Skywalker in this comic. So, yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's kind of cool that we do kind of see the Emperor Sentinels being constructed in some way, because there is one panel that does show that they're being constructed.
Yeah, because they go to some base.
Yeah, so
to get the Force tree.
Yeah, so. But overall, this was it's filler, honestly. This comic could have easily been 3 issues, and that was it. And if they wanted to add a 4th one, then they should have thought of a good way to maybe another planet is getting attacked by Operation Cinder. Maybe not just one, maybe 2, and have it be that we could that they destroy that last planet under attack of Operation Cinder, and maybe that could have kickstarted Shattered Empires 2 or something, like something better, because this last issue, no. Not my fave. They could have done something better. Or they could have made it, only kept it as 3 issues. I do think it should have been 3 issues or something else.
Alright.
So there's that. What do you guys think of this issue?
I thought it was alright. And then I think with the Luke Skywalker adventure was, something. I felt like, given something about Luke to see what he's up to in around this time, after his fight with Vader and redeeming his father.
Yeah, that's probably one of the few good things of this. I mean, I like that. Yeah, we're seeing Luke Skywalker poster the Jedi in Disney Star Wars. I do. I just wait, though. I think this kind of gives me a vibe of missed potential, because they could have done their own comic series of having that. Luke Skywalker poster the Jedi, like depicting his stories and everything during that time. Like we could have had something like that instead of just one issue and in a storyline was already finished. Like,
true, which I would agree with you there. Like I do feel like at some point we need someone with Luke in between the events of between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
that would be like an animated show or a comic. Because I felt like with The Last Jedi, I thought it was going to pave the way for more stuff, Because that was like what I was thinking. That's why I felt like they're holding off on his story in that big time period. I thought The Last Jedi is going to plant more seeds, Because I did have a feeling in The Last Jedi we would get a flashback, and then pretty much we ended up getting one, when Luke and Ben have that confrontation. That was pretty much the only flashback we got, but I thought we'd get a few more, maybe fill in some gaps.
Instead, what we got was almost nothing, and the few things we got turned out to be the biggest character assassination of Luke Skywalker. Like, oh my god, and, they could have done so much better with that. So there's that. Which, what do you think of issue 4?
All right, so this is gonna probably end up being the unpopular opinion, but I really, really, really liked it.
Okay, go.
Because for me, I always saw Shattered Empire as Shara's story, so it made sense that it would later follow up. The story would continue with like eventually her meeting Luke Skywalker because like everyone got basically a small spotlight. And what I really liked about this story is that it gave a little more like development for Luke post Return of the Jedi. Because if you really think about it, just maybe like a few weeks or like even a couple of days earlier, he not single-handedly, he defeated Vader. And then saw his father die.
Mm-hmm.
Vader killed Palpatine in front of him. Like basically, he went through a crazy weekend, and we're seeing now how he's sort of coping with it and how he's becoming truly the Jedi like his father was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that, and yeah, I do think it is Shara's story. The problem here is that they instead of doing just this one issue, they could have made a Shattered Empires 2 and actually have Shara actually meet Luke Skywalker and maybe expand it into a 3-issue story arc or 4-issue story arc. Like they could have done more instead of just relegating it to one issue. This is the problem with this issue, that it. Like what you say that this comic does, it could have been done so much better. Like instead of feeling like a one issue that can be easily skippable, they could have done a Shattered Empires 2 that has this, but with a bit more issues to actually make a bigger, more meaningful story arc that can actually add a lot more to the Disney Star Wars universe and explore Luke Skywalker a lot more, and also explore Shara even more. Like that's the thing. Instead of just one issue, it should have been 3 in a sequel comic series. Would have been a lot better.
No, for sure. But like, we also have to realize the time at which this was coming out. This was before The Force Awakens. It was meant to tie in, so they don't want to do too much because they don't want to sort of play their hand for The Force Awakens. We also had a couple other series coming out at the same time, like such as the Mainline. I think even the solo issues were coming out, like of the characters, like there's Princess Leia. I think Han Solo was coming out at the time too, like Darth Vader's series. So it makes sense to me that they just sort of wanted to have that one issue where it's like, we're just gonna have it tell a story like that just to pad out, like the Shattered Empire miniseries, and to give potential context to something that may come up again in the future, either in the movies or in like another piece of material, which so far it hasn't, because the Force trees.
I do think they could have done Shattered Empires too. Even if the Force Awakens already came out, they could have done it. All they just didn't have to put the Journey to the Force Awakens day one. They could have just said, "Oh yeah, Shattered Empires 2, let's go. People like this one, let's do another one." Like they could have done it. In fact,
That would have been very exciting.
In fact, they should have done that instead of Vader Down, because Vader Down, oh god, that comic, not a fan of it. Or hell, I would have preferred Shattered Empires 2 over Allegiance. Even that. So yeah, I do. Shattered Empires 2, I actually would have liked to see that more instead of those two others. So yeah, that's what I think of issue 4. So got any thoughts on issue 4? Any other ones?
Like it's also like a nice Clone Wars tie-in, because it's like it's the trees that we've seen like in a few episodes. So like if you really appreciate that, it's worth checking out. And like even just the ending, it's a nice ending,
It's a nice
it sort of
ending.
sets up basically something more to come for Yavin, because like think about it, it looks like it's been colonized by the rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Force sensitive trees are there.
Yeah.
We know that in Legends, Yavin 4 was home of
The
Luke see his
Sith.
Jedi Temple. So like
Yeah.
maybe this is gonna come into play later with Rey or even with Luke. Maybe like before he, because what planet was he on for his?
They don't. Yeah, they don't confirm it. What we see in the Last Jedi, where his Jedi school is, and I don't think, as I recall, the comic did either.
So that probably would be enough to even maybe say, oh, this is like the sort of beginning of Luke's school.
I see. Well,
Yeah, I felt like that could have been a good setup,
Yeah.
but who knows? Maybe some future content will talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is why I like this sort of issue too, because it's got enough that it's going to set up something new, even though like it is old at this point. Like it's 5 years old, I think, at this point, or 6.
Almost
Yeah,
5.
actually 5, because this was around like in the waning months of Force Awakens coming out, and it was part of the Journey to the Force Awakens line.
Yeah. So like it's 5 years maybe too late for like some sort of setup or for a new story, but at the same time, like this issue gives enough room to tell a new story, be it on Yavin 4, be it with the trees, with Charbet, with Luke. Like it's basically a good starting off point for something new to come out, which is something I appreciate.
You want to know something, guys? And this only makes me wonder why they actually didn't do a better story in with this issue. Because if you actually check the covers, cover A, you know which cover it has basically Luke and Shara fighting stormtroopers in the base, right? But cover B, it actually has something different. It has Luke, Han Solo, Leia, Lando, and Yennom in some sort of forest planet. Yeah,
I think that's just like one of those variant covers that they just do just to like sell. Like it's probably like one of those 1 in 25 or whatever. Because even for the mainline series, they just released covers that had nothing to do with the series just because it was really nice looking.
True, they do like all these variants just for extra money.
If they're gonna do variants, at least make it resemble the story that's been told. Don't you think?
I agree with that, but like at the same time, I'm a sucker for this sort of thing. In all honesty, I really like when they just when they do something different or they go crazy with a cover just because like it's fun at the end of the day.
I think they did. Yeah, it's just a marketing tactic they do.
Yeah, indeed. So, Daniel, final thoughts on issue 4?
Yeah, as I said, I thought it was I thought it was a fun comic, and then the Force tree, and I thought it was interesting to see something with Luke Skywalker post Episode 6, pre Episode 7.
Okay, yeah. So there's that. Now, this next part, we're going to be discussing what this comic did for the Disney Star Wars universe. There's not just continuity, but I guess also it like we mentioned before, it was one of the first Journey to the Force Awakens media, right? What other media came out at that same time that kicked off that?
After the
Bloodlines.
Actually, Bloodline came after the Force Awakens. Like that came out in like 2016, like months after Force Awakens.
Which book was it that? Like it was like a
Aftermath, the first one.
Wasn't there like a Princess Leia book that had a Journey to the Force Awakens?
I think that was The Last Jedi, the Leia Princess of Alderaan.
I'm thinking of those small hardcovers.
Oh, Moving Target.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's Smuggler's Run, the Han and Chewie one, and then there's Weapon of a Jedi, the Luke one.
Yeah, those.
Exactly.
I know which ones you're talking about. So, yeah, those had nothing to do with the Force Awakens, right? They were just like filler, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I think they had just one tiny little aspect about it.
I see. Interesting. So yeah, because right now if you check the Journey to the Force Awakens, it says that The only comic is Shattered Empire. Everything else either novels, short stories, or reference books and activity books and stuff. So
True.
so this comic is basically most of the basis of Star Wars Force Awakens, besides the Aftermath trilogy, Lost Stars, also yeah, Bloodlines. Even if it came out after Force Awakens.
Actually, yeah, Bloodline, yeah, came out after.
Yeah.
Then, like, the second Aftermath book came out in the summer 2016. Then, like, the third Aftermath book came out in 2017.
Oh, there's also Before the Awakening too. That also.
Yeah, Before the Awakening, that came, what, like, on
the same
close
day.
to the Force Awakens?
The same day that it came out.
Like, the movie came out?
Yep, the same day.
Yeah, because when I was reading Before the Awakening, I wonder, like, I don't think it holds, like, some of the information doesn't hold up as it did compared to now. Like, I feel like if you released a newer version, like a reissued one, you could have a more up-to-date one.
When it came out, I really liked that book. It was so interesting to me. It hyped me up so much for Force Awakens and like what was coming next. Like that I have to say was a really good tie-in book, even though now it's like not as accurate.
No, yeah,
quotations
because you don't have all the hints to like who Rey is. Because I felt like they were limited at the time, you know, like
for sure.
Yeah,
because I mean, like at the time, like Ryan Johnson could come and contradict it with The Last Jedi, and then at the time, this is when Colin Trevorrow was to do Episode 9 before J.J. Abrams came back.
Yeah, indeed. So now, why do we mention Journey to the Force Awakens? Well, like we said, this comic, Shattered Empires, was kind of the big base of it, and its references definitely led into some other this is Star Wars material coming out later that references or has elements of this comic, like Operation Cinder in Battlefront 2 EA, as well as the Emperor Sentinels, as well as some other stuff. There is one thing that unfortunately makes all of that pretty much worthless, and it definitely pisses me off. And you know what that one thing is?
The Poe Dameron contradiction.
No. Well, that's
because Poe was young or not even born.
No, that's a part of it. It's not the whole thing. No. What I'm talking about is Episode 9 contradicting and retconning two major parts of this comic, which kind of makes it worthless from a continuity standpoint, and it pisses me off. So this comic, Shattered Empires, it has Operation Cinder, and it has Poe Dameron's origin or backstory, as you can call it. And Episode 9 just said, fuck it, Operation Cinder. Now it makes no sense because we brought Palpatine back from the dead. Clone or not, it doesn't matter. It's still back from the dead. And Poe, instead of being a rebel pilot, because his two parents were rebels, he could have been a resistance pilot or serving the New Republic in some way. No, instead he's a spice runner.
Yeah, which pretty much confirmed it. I don't think that's what the thing with the Battlefront 2 game. It looks like the game. Do you think the game developers worked with the story group more and probably read the comic?
Probably.
It's possible, yeah. It's funny how Battlefront 2 EA maintains more continuity than Star Wars Episode 9. I mean, Christ. Episode 9, I hate that it made Shattered Empire worthless from a continuity standpoint. Like, thanks to Episode 9, almost all of the stuff that is in this comic, it's worthless. Like, the only thing that would stand out, I guess, are the locations that this comic shows. But Operation Cinder, Poe Dameron's backstory, gone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Which
I haven't read the Poe Dameron Freefall yet, so I'd have to see what they do to reconcile it.
Yeah, the young adult novel Poe Dameron Freefall that came out like a month ago, that is supposed to explain the inaccuracy between Episode 9 and the other sources that had Poe's previous origin. I read what it does, at least in summary, in terms of what happens, and I read it and I was like, I still don't think Poe Dameron had a good excuse for being a spice runner. The Episode 9, why did you have to do this? God damn it.
I don't think J.J. Abrams is up to speed on the expanded material.
Or he didn't give a shit, which I think it
Yeah.
probably is the latter one.
True. I've heard someone say like J.J. Abrams doesn't work with the story group. I mean, I'm not sure if that's official. Like,
They
this.
confirmed that the story group has little to no involvement whatsoever in any of the Disney Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Any of them. Not just J.J. Abrams' sequels, also Ryan Johnson's Last Jedi, as well as the spin-offs as well. Though maybe the spin-offs did stay a bit more true to the canon, but it was mostly because of what the director and the writer decided. But other than that, yeah, sorry if it sounds like I ranting a little bit, but it's just Shattered Empires. I like the comic, and I think the post Return of the Jedi portion of Disney Star Wars, it had potential, even if it had potential, and this comic proves it. There's other sources that can prove it. Just it kind of sucks that most of it has to be either completely retcon or something. So that's all I'm gonna say on episode 9. So that rant is over.
Yeah, I kind of wish this comic was a little longer, in my opinion.
I would have preferred a second comic series, Shattered Empires 2,
Yeah.
actually.
Like either like an ongoing series or like, as you said, a sequel. Because I mean, I know as like I feel like with it being a Journey of the Force Awakens thing, I could see it more sort of just being just for the Force Awakens, because probably the comic writers didn't have an idea what was gonna happen in other material and in episode 8 and 9, so they could have gave potential spoilers away, or future movies could have overridden it and all that. So that's that. And then they probably didn't know what TV shows we get in that time with Mandalorian and other possible TV shows to come.
Yeah, indeed. So, anything else to mention on what Shattered Empires did to Disney Star Wars universe in terms of, I guess, the legacy and the elements that it brought?
That's pretty much what I'd have to say. Wedge, do you have anything?
It's very much one of those stories that, like, it helps tie in the book universe in a sense to the comic universe, because sometimes, well, to me anyway, the comics and even the novels felt a bit disjointed, but this was like a nice way to tie that in. And then later on, Battlefront 2 would go into tie into that and just make everything sort of a lot more cohesive, which was something that was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And just overall, while it sucks that a lot of this stuff was rendered kind of like
Meaningless.
I wouldn't say, not kind of meaningless, but like, pretty much meaningless actually. It still doesn't kind of take away from my enjoyment of it.
Fun factor, you can still have it. It's just the continuity wise doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
No,
I could see.
100%.
True, I would say it's still a good comic, but I feel like with the more information we have, I feel like, it's sort of outdated with the info we have now since the sequel trilogy is over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes,
Like,
indeed.
for me, I don't mind that as much, even though I am a bit of a stickler for continuity. It's still, like, at the end of the day, it just doesn't bother me too much, because I understand that, like, episode 9 had a rush production, scripts were being thrown left and right, and they slapped together whatever they could. Like, I've gotten over it, whatever. I'm still going to appreciate whatever I had come before, and I'm going to continue to look critically at everything that comes now. And yeah, we're going to, just from here, I would say, like, Shattered Empire, it's worth reading, even if it is part of it is rendered sort of meaningless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, read it for the fun factor.
True. I'd say, as we said, definitely worth a read, and I'd say definitely pick it up. And, I mean, it does a good attempt at trying to build the bridge with Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's your guys' final thoughts. Mine, read this comic. It's definitely pretty good. It's definitely one of the better parts of Disney Star Wars, post Return of the Jedi especially. So give it a shot. It's definitely fun to read. Continuity wise, you ain't getting much nowadays. Thank you, episode 9, for that. But yeah, aside from that, read it for the fun factor. So that's all I gotta say for this one. Next time, well, we'll see what else we come up for State of Star Wars podcasts. So that's all we got for now. So see you guys in the next podcast. Bye bye.
See ya.
See you later.